So, Dave, thank you for doing this. The reason why I wanted to do this was I'm just noticing more and more when I talk to people or when I hear podcasts, people are saying, "Hey, Dave Sine, Dave Sine, your pictures, blah 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 blah." And there was that guy that recently even made a comment about how good he thought your pictures were, and you've got to feel good about that, right? Like it's nice to hear people.
Yeah, it's nice because oftentimes, especially in the when I took a lot of those photos and was sharing them in my zine, I got little to no feedback on it.
Really,
Um,
even like because I remember when you and I first met, we met through your like it's because of your zine, and the first thing
yeah,
I remember talking about were like your pictures. So there was no like really you weren't getting a lot of people.
no, I mean, I assume that's why people bought the zine. One of the reasons, one of the draws to it, but no one really wrote or anything to say, "Hey, I like that photo" or whatever. It's just like they would just maybe order another zine. That's about it. And then the
Gotcha.
next issue came out. The only time I really got feedback was maybe when um, a band used a photo on their record. Because that was like a feedback of like, hey, they like this enough to use it on their record. So
And they let you know that, or was it ever a surprise, or was it kind of a mix of both?
a mix of both. Because there was a lot of times, especially back then, I would just kind of give prints to friends, trade prints with other zine makers, and so sometimes you'd see a photo show up somewhere and be like, "Oh, cool!" Like I didn't know I gave them photos, or I forgot that I gave them photos.
Gotcha.
So it was fun. Yeah.
Well, to just dive right into this, or just to explain to people what this is going to be, is basically I started with a picture and I wanted to ask you about it and kind of do just like a talk about that picture. But then you sort of sent me some other pictures that were like related to that picture. And I was like, oh, this is great. So now we're going to probably talk about all four pictures. So here I'm gonna share my screen, and the first one that we are going to discuss is um, it is this picture right here of everybody in the parking lot. And I guess my first question. Well, here let's kind of go through who is in the picture. We'll start. We'll go from left to right. Um, right, folding his arms is Bob Binkley, rest in peace.
Yes.
Paul
Yep.
Simon in the Bad Religion shirt
Yes.
in the
Jeff
shade.
Caudell in the Jawbreaker shirt,
Bob Violence behind Jeff.
and Todd Trout right behind him.
And then, do you know who the gentleman is with his hand on that other gentleman's shoulder?
No. So the people whose names I don't know are all were with this band Refuse to Fall.
Okay, okay, okay. So,
Um,
so
and
then,
then
yeah,
and then we have Popeye, Paul in the front. The other kid crouched down low. He was with Refuse to Fall. Right behind Mike and Paul, there's three guys. Those guys were with Refuse to Fall. Then you have Rob and Mark, and then two more guys from Refuse to Fall, and Brian Chu.
gotcha. So you have the Hayworth brothers, Rob and Mark. You have Brian Chu with his arm out, wearing a Soul Side shirt. I want to say,
Yep. Yeah.
and and then the gentleman. Who's the gentleman next to Bob who's kneeling down?
I don't know. He was with Refuse to Fall
Gotcha,
guys.
gotcha. Okay. Um, and then I guess my next question is, where was this taken? Do you recall that?
Yes. So I did a little research. When coming to do this, I pulled out my issue of Tidbit 3 with
So you
where I
use
did
your research. You use the.
I did my research just to kind of make sure that I was going to get the information right. I had in this issue I had the tour diary,
Mm,
which I published the diary and a bunch of photos from that tour. And so um, on this tour, this is on the Farside tour, summer of '92. We had 3 dates with Gameface, and I made notes too.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I love it. I love it. And if I don't hit on some of them, please, you hit on them. So thank you.
Sounds good. So we had on June 7th, we had Farside, Gameface, and Refuse to Fall all played together. And then on June 8th, Farside and Gameface played in Memphis, Tennessee. And on June 9th, Farside, Gameface, and Refuse to Fall all played in Springfield, Missouri. On June 10th, we had stayed in a hotel. So did Gameface. I think we stayed in the same hotel. Refuse to Fall stayed somewhere nearby. And they came by as we were all packing up and saying goodbyes. And that's when we took this photo.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Wow. So this is not like bands are playing, getting ready to load in and play somewhere. This is actually, hey, we're saying goodbye.
Yeah, this is a saying goodbyes part. And I think there's one person who was traveling with Gameface that is not in this photo.
Yeah, it would probably be John Kinsis. Probably be John Kinsis. He's really good friends with Paul, the bass player. That's my guess, because I don't think because Spencer.
I don't remember his name.
Well, Spencer from Mission Impossible went out with them, but that was the following year, and I think you would remember Spencer because I just think that you knew him better.
Oh yeah, and we knew each other then, so yeah, I would have remembered if Spencer was there.
And so we went through who's in the photo, and so this is them leaving, and so you went through when it was taken. Do you remember at all what was happening right before you got, like, were they loading their stuff in and then the guys pulled up? Had they gone to eat somewhere and then came back and then were loading up and they took this picture?
I think we had, I think Farside and Gameface were loading up to start hitting the road. And I think the Refuse to Fall guys knew where we were and knew that we hadn't left yet or something. I think they were in contact maybe with the Gameface kids. So they stopped by and we all kind of hung out for a bit. I don't remember much more than that. That's the kind of funny thing. That's part of the reason why I went and looked at notes. It was like, what did happen?
Gotcha. No. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome, and I love that you used your own research to kind of do this. Do you recall after the picture was taken what happened? Okay, I know this sounds dumb, but like aside from the guys leaving, like was there like multiple hugs? Was it a lot of high fives? Was there anything?
Probably some hugs and high fives and like, exchanges of phone numbers and contact info, and I was like, all right, see you guys when either like for the Gameface kids, it was like, all right, see you when we get home. Refuse to Fall, it's like, all right, see you next time we're in town or you're in town, our town, one of the two.
You know what I think is interesting is, we're talking about people from different parts of the country, but everyone in this picture looks familiar. Like I don't look at this picture and I think, oh man, those guys are from California. Those guys are from Missouri. Like everybody looks, and I think a lot of it is because of the shirts, like also the style of the 90s at that time. Like bigger was better at that time.
Yeah, we all had way too big of clothes then.
And as I'm noticing, Bob is shirtless, I think.
When is he not shirtless?
Well, that's the thing, is that Bob was never afraid. Bob was never afraid because there's pictures of them like, on their albums, and I think he like has his shirt off in one of the pictures. I don't know. To me,
I think I have more photos of him without a shirt than with a shirt.
Well, that's the thing, is like I was always very self-conscious, and so I never did that. And then I remember there was one Farside show Popeye played without a shirt on, and I just think it had been because like Collateral Damage had played and they needed to fill time, so that's why we played. And then Popeye was hot. It's middle of summer, and that was a really hot summer, and thus
was that at the Macondo?
No, that one I want to say was at the Ice House.
Yeah, I think I have a picture of Popeye playing drums for Ice without a shirt.
Maybe. I mean, Yeah, I guess to me,
You know
knowing
what? That might
Popeye.
that might be in this. That might be in this.
Oh, hey, if you want to do a little bit of research right now, and let me
Let's
know.
let's flip through. Let's
No, yeah,
find
let's
out.
flip through. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Ah, okay, wait, hold on. I'm actually gonna stop the share. Oh wow, okay. So I'm playing in ice. Okay, no shirt.
So
Okay,
there's Popeye with on drums and ice, no shirt.
I love it. I love it. Okay.
There's
Oh
there's me
yeah, yep, and there's me,
speaking of
Vanilla
ice.
Ice. Yeah, that was our whole thing. That was our whole thing was we embraced him. The thing is, like, I think we genuinely liked him. But we were in on the joke, but we genuinely, I don't know. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
so then, do you remember was wait here, wait, I'm gonna go back to sharing the screen again. Was that picture taken simply just to document like hey, I never got this picture. I never got a picture of all the band or these three bands together, and now that's what I want to do, or like was it just because you were always taking pictures of things,
Yeah.
so
I was, one thing though I was bad at was taking pictures of like group pictures or people just hanging around. I was never real good at that. And that was mostly just because I didn't have a whole lot of film or
mm,
money for film. So I used it sparingly sometimes. But in this instance, it was, hey, we're all together. We've just had 3 cool days hanging out. I mean, Farside was Farside's first tour, Gameface's first tour. I'm not sure. I unfortunately don't recall much about the Refuse to Fall guys, other than them being super cool. But it's just kind of like we just had a really good time. We're all far from home. Group photo before we say goodbye,
gotcha.
just to kind of capture that moment for us in a fun way, not so much from a documentarian way, but just for a fun group of friends out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's interesting because then you go from this photo. There's an alternative to it where
Yeah,
it sort of seemed like in the second picture, some people didn't know that you were actually taking a picture. Like it looked like if you look at Paul Simon as though he's like talking to somebody. Bob appears to have turned his back and is talking to one of the
yeah,
Refuse to Fall guys, and Rob, I'm assuming Rob is laughing at what the gentleman who's grabbing his crotch is doing,
yes.
and Chew
so
is
the
just looking mean.
Yeah. So the first photo, I think the guy who was traveling with Gameface, he took that. I think so. Everybody was focused on him,
Okay,
not so much realizing that I was taking a photo at the same time.
gotcha.
So he took his photo, and then everybody who was still paying attention turned to me, and that's where you can see like Mike and Paul are turning towards me, and Todd's looking directly at me now, and that's kind of I think that's what happened with this second photo.
Gotcha. Wow,
But
and
yeah,
then
some people were like, "All right, we're done," and started to break.
and some of like the things from that time, like Popeye wearing that Mickey Mouse hat,
Yep.
like that was a very popular hat amongst hardcore people. I mean, I just remember that. And then you have like
Yeah.
that Jawbreaker shirt that Jeff's wearing, and the Soulside shirt. Like I cannot think of Soulside without thinking of that logo.
Oh yeah, that shirt was great and super popular back then.
And then Rob looks to be wearing a shirt that is political of
Yep.
some note.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, that which is also not surprising.
Right. And then I'm
I thought
seeing
Bob. I didn't look. I didn't zoom in before, but I thought Bob's shirt was uh maybe a Pegboy shirt, but I could be wrong.
Bob from Gameface. Here, wait,
Yeah.
let's go back and see. Yeah, it's kind of it could be. It
So
could be
the old
maybe
Pegboy, the Pegboy shirt that had the like the Chicago flag within the letters, if I remember right.
when I
'Cause I
do
used to
this,
have
I'll try to go in. I'll try to go in and see if we can
Okay.
kind of, just sort of just sort of break that down a little bit. So then the vans in the back, the dark one looks to be Game Faces, and I only say that because I know that they had a blue van.
Yeah, I believe that's theirs, and the one everybody's in front of, that's the Rev van.
Okay.
The Rev van that Farside was using, and I believe Refuse to Fall fan is right next to it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Cool. So we got all three vans in this, and then I mean, this is a big ask. Do you remember at all the name of the hotel that they?
Yeah, no, not at all. I didn't write that down at all. I do know that like from what I read, what I wrote is that after this we drove to Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a long drive from Springfield, Missouri to Louisville.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Wow. No. 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 And I'm sure that there's probably going to be an episode of this where there's more pictures. Taken. From that. It'd be crazy if this whole thing kind of pieced all that together. Paul, I think, is wearing a Vision shirt.
Oh yeah, he is.
And it was always cool because Vision were like the luckiest band because their name was ready made because hardcore was already wearing the Vision products.
Vision streetwear, yeah, the old skateboard company.
So then, now moving into the other pictures, we're gonna go with a Game Face picture. Paul's wearing an Underdog shirt. Jeff, that what is that shirt? Man, I know that shirt.
Oh,
with the girl and her
tell.
tongue out.
Oh, is that it was a band. I'm trying to remember what they were called. They had something like that.
Not Spit Boy.
No, it wasn't Spit Boy. It was more kind of rock and rollish, if I remember right.
And also
the name at all.
These pictures, like the people in front of us, for instance, like to me, it shows, even though it was not that far removed, it's fairly far removed in the sense of like Inside Out, I think we're pretty done at that point. And
yeah,
as is hardcore, guy still wearing the Inside Out shirt, and I'm sure there was probably more than one Inside Out shirt at that show.
Possibly, yeah.
We have
the Instead shirt. It looks like right next to him.
Exactly.
And then we have the kids who probably bought their new shirts.
Right. Exactly. And then you have John, who was not pictured in the other pictures. He's behind Todd on guitar because we have Todd to the left, Jeff in the middle, Paul to the right, and he's wearing that Farside shirt.
Yeah, the one of the first ones that I made for them.
And Todd, I want to say he really, at times, because he would wear band shirts, but at times he really sort of took pride in not wearing shirts that like were tied to any particular scene or anything. Like he just kind of like being a blank canvas.
Yeah, that's cool. He's just kind of representing himself.
Yeah.
At that point, in his band,
And then
me and my band, not like what crew I'm in or what, he's not trying to sell you anything, but his music.
He's just kind of being himself.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
You have Paul with the Vans hat, and then I'm assuming
very California.
Yes, very, very. I'm assuming that that's a Game Face set list, maybe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Gotcha.
And this photo is in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay. And then for why you took this, was that like, did you not want to be up front? Did you, because I seem to remember you were sort of all over the place when you were taking pictures. Like that's one thing I think is very interesting about you. Like you always seemed like if you wanted to take pictures, you were going to take pictures, and you didn't care like, oh, I can't get up front, or oh, I'm not going to, you just wanted to take pictures.
Yeah. I mean, I did try to move around and try to not be limited to certain angles. But in this case, I was working the merch table, so it was kind of limited time away from the table. So
Gotcha.
just kind of like go, take a quick pic of our friends, and then back to the table.
Gotcha. 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 And it's always cool when you're like working the table and people are coming up and you're getting to talk to them. And I'm
Yeah,
just saying, like you were kind of, you were really like in your calling, if you know what I mean. You were helping
yeah,
the
definitely.
band and you were also supporting all the bands by taking pictures. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just it was fun. It was something to do. It's sometimes weird to look back on it and like and have this almost greater purpose attached to it because at the time there didn't seem like there was much purpose at all other than to fill my zine
Well,
with
I
photos.
think that that's something that being young, and this is a bad way to put it, but it's the best way I can put it. Like, we take things for granted just because we're young and we assume that life is always going to be something like what we're experiencing at that moment. And, like, at that time, I never thought, like, hey, we're all going to move away and we're going to have to
Yeah,
talk on Zoom and we're going to have to,
yeah,
like, and that's why I guess, like, seeing these pictures, it just makes me want to ask you, like, oh, hey, why did you do it? And that's the thing, is I never would have known until you told me, oh, I was working the merch booth and I actually snapped this picture just because I had a few moments in between, having to do that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think the merch table was probably just behind me to my left,
Okay.
if I remember how that was laid out.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I also, right as you said that, I also noticed Todd's guitar case with the GF on it, and I just,
Oh yeah,
there could be a whole zine of how the way that people have decorated their guitar cases, their drums, their clothes. I mean, there probably already is.
probably, yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I know the great photographer Pat Graham. He did I don't know if a full book, but he did a series of photographs of musicians' instruments, their
Hmm.
guitars and whatnot. He had pictures of like Ian Mackay's SG and stuff like that. And it was really fascinating.
I
It was a
love
great
that
photo shoot.
SG. Love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm gonna move on now to the Farside picture. So to our left, there's Brian Chu playing bass. I always loved his stance on stage.
yeah.
You have Popeye with a guitar. I don't ever remember him playing locally, but I'm sure that he did. And he's wearing a Campus Gas hat, which on this channel you can actually find out all you want to know about Campus Gas if you're
That
if
that
you're
wa-
interested.
I gotta say that was a great video. It took me back to a lot of memories of meeting up at Campus Gas. It was
Thank
great
you.
seeing Doc. It was great seeing Doc in that. Talking about it. And that was a very fun video to watch.
Well, for me, it's all about, we got to tell these stories and we got to put these stories somewhere so that through time, when we're not around anymore, people have an
Yeah,
interest, here it is. And
yeah, totally.
that's the goal. And then, wait, to our far right, of course, is Rob, who I gotta tell you, I give him credit for having the long hair. I give him credit for having the
Yeah,
longer hair. I mean, which doesn't surprise me, but I'm just saying, whenever everyone at that time was going shorter, he kind of went the other way.
that's right. That's a testament to Rob and his character and
Yeah.
his going his own he's going his own road.
Is Bob wearing a shirt in that picture as he plays drums? No, no, no,
He's
no,
got
no,
it.
no, no. He's not.
Oh, okay.
He's
And
not.
there and right between uh, Mike and Brian, you can see Paul
Yeah.
crouched down behind the drums there.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. I wish I could make out what his shirt says, but hey, it's
Yeah,
and what I love also, but before I forget it, there literally looks like there's one light lighting this whole club.
yeah. It was just like the back warehouse room. It was basically not a club. It was like a tiny, crappy little PA and in a back room with, I think that is the one light in the room.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And then
Wow.
maybe whatever light was coming in through the door, you know?
Wow. This is. I mean, and then just to talk about places that like bands play. I mean, Farside and Gameface have played some big shows in some super nice places. Hard Rock in L.A. Farside playing Crawford Hall at UCI. But
Yeah.
look at this place. Like, this looks like something out of like a steampunk Sherlock Holmes movie.
Yeah. Or it's just like this back abandoned warehouse.
Right,
You
right. No, and
know?
there's like bricks. So you know that like and not that we ever cared, but you know that the acoustics were not great.
No, definitely not. You know, I have a couple of photos on this tour, later on this tour, when we went through Minnesota in Mankato. Farside played in a barn.
Oh wow.
I have pictures of them, and you can see like a snowmobile in the background.
Well,
You
we're
know,
gonna with
part of that loft. I'll find those photos. We'll get on that one.
well with this new thing, Project Sign, we're gonna have to we're gonna mine your photos. We're gonna mine your
All right,
photos. Um,
sure.
I what I
I've been
want.
lately. I've been trying to post more of my archive and trying to find photos that I've never used. Like I recently posted a big drill cart photo that I had never printed or scanned before. You know.
And why was that? Why had you just had it but had never?
Yeah, I mean, back then I would just get develop only. I mean, I still do that now. Get develop only because it was cheaper, and I would just go to the dark room, make my own prints, and I only had so much time and only so much money.
I'm surprised you haven't created your own darkroom yet.
I had most of the material to make one when I was living back east, but I just didn't have, like, I shared a basement at that place, but and I had the larger and had a lot of the equipment, but I just didn't have the money or the time to really kind of close off an area and make it happen. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I eventually gave all this stuff away and moved out here.
Do you remember anything that happened after this show? Like, did you guys go somewhere? Was it like the Denny's thing? Was it get back on the road? Was there a fight? Do you remember anything happening, or maybe anything that happened at the show that was like, oh wow, okay, that was interesting?
I do kind of remember if I do remember, we were invited to a pool party. If I remember right, this was kind of like a late afternoon show. It wasn't, and I can remember it still
Oh, so
being
this was like a
daylight.
matinee. This was like a matinee kind of thing.
Yeah, I think if I remember right. Um, let me read my. Let me browse this real quick, and yeah, we were invited to a pool party. I think us and Gameface went out, and we had fun at a pool party. And I think we split up in a way because I know Mike and I stayed with the Gameface kids at their hotel, and I don't remember where the rest of the Farside crew stayed. But
That
Mike and I went with Gameface, and I remember we went to a Waffle House and had dinner and stuff like that night.
the night after this.
That night, like
Oh,
we went, we had this show. We went to a pool party, and then Mike and I went with Gameface, and then the other guys. I'm not sure. I don't remember where the other guys went.
it's always interesting to me when bands and people split up on tour and just like, well, how do they get back together? And I only say that just because I remember being on tour with Farside, and like Popeye went, like there was always the fear, like when you rode with like other bands, like that, like someone would always get to the shows before the other people, and it was always, I think that happened on the Farside Shades Apart tour, that like
Okay.
Shades Apart, we ended up being later, and so we came in, and like Farside were playing as we came in. It was just one of those things.
It's also, it's then at that time period we didn't have mobile phones. So
Oh,
if you were apart, you were like searching for a payphone. If you broke down or something like that, you didn't know. It wasn't easy to get a hold of. You
which
know,
makes us,
and then
which makes me
through text.
wonder why, when everything is being done on such like a micro budget, very little money for anything, we would chant stuff like that happening. But I remember like never thinking about it. Like I rode with the Shades Apart guys just because I thought they were awesome and I wanted to ride with them for a few days. That was it.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And that's that was a legit reason. And yeah, nobody thought like we were all we didn't think about any consequences.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you for doing this. This is going to be a continued project. Project Sign number one has been completed. I am so honored that you were. I mean, I figured that you would be just because you're always up for things. But I just like I love getting in the weeds in things because I especially love when like someone takes a picture that I've looked at all my life or known about all my life and then they comment on it online and I'm like, I had the same thought. Like I was thinking the same thing and you know, I
Yeah,
obviously
it's fascinating to get context behind a photo.
right.
Like sometimes there was a great series on PBS called Rock the Lens or something like that. And it was all about music photographers. And they just would sometimes talk to some of these people about their iconic music photos. And it was really fascinating to get some of the stories behind it. So it's kind of fun to take part in, in that, in our version of that.